Chapter 3, Cause, No Cause. Let's play a quick round of cause. No cause. It is a good thing that more and more companies seem to be embracing the importance of having a purpose at the heart of their business. The problem is, too many of them say things that only sound like a just cause. Indeed, they may even use language and meet some of the standards of a just cause. Until they can check all 5 boxes, however, what they offer simply isn't a just cause. There are a few main reasons we fail to put forward a true just cause. Sometimes, the visionary, cause-driven leader adopts a false cause by accident because they are struggling to find the words to embody what they imagine for the future. See previous chapter for help. In other cases, the leader wants people to believe that they are cause-driven when, in fact, they have no vision at all. Common imposter causes include things like moonshots, a drive to be the best, or mistaking growth for purpose. It is also common to find organizations confusing their corporate social responsibility (CSR) program for a just cause. Any of these may or may not work in the finite game, but they absolutely cannot lead an organization to survive and thrive in the infinite game. The reason to identify these pitfalls is first, as a warning, that to embrace any of these will not prepare an organization for life in the infinite game, but rather keep it playing squarely with a finite mindset. The other reason to point them out is simply so that we can know if indeed we have a just cause or not and go back to the drawing board if we need to. We might even avoid coming up with a false cause in the first place. An organization that has a false cause is not a bad company, it just means they may have a little more work to do. The ability to recognize false causes can also save us pain as investors, employees, and consumers. If we suspect that one organization does not have a just cause, we can move on to another that does. A true just cause is deeply personal to those who hear it, and it must be deeply personal to those who espouse it. The more personal it is for people, the more likely our passions will be stoked to help advance it. If the words of a just cause are used simply to boost a brand image, attract passionate employees, or help drive some near-term goal, like a purchase, a vote, or support for the company, the impact will be short-lived. As soon as we start working at an organization or interacting with its people, we will quickly find out whether they are offering us a just cause they truly believe in or just hollow words. Moonshots are not a just cause. He offered us something to believe in. Something that was bigger than us. Something that we were willing to sacrifice to see happen. We choose to go to the moon, said President John F. Kennedy with determination. We choose to go to the moon in this decade. Not because it is easy, but because it is hard, because that goal will serve to organize and measure the best of our energies and skills, because that challenge is one that we are willing to accept, one we are unwilling to postpone, and one which we intend to win. And just over 8 years after Kennedy first challenged the nation, Neil Armstrong took one small step for a man, one giant leap for mankind. The so-called moonshot is often invoked by leaders who are trying to inspire their people to reach for something that seems impossible. And because moonshots pass most of the tests of a just cause, it usually works. In the case of Kennedy's actual moonshot, it is affirmative and specific. It is inclusive, service-oriented, and definitely worthy of sacrifice. However, it is not infinite. No matter how hard the challenge, no matter how impossible it seemed, the moonshot was an achievable, finite goal. More than an ideal future state, it is what Jim Collins, author of Good to Great and Built to Last, calls a BHAG, a big, hairy, audacious goal. It's easy to mistake a BHAG for a just cause because they can indeed be incredibly inspiring and can often take many years to achieve. But after the moonshot has been achieved, the game continues. Simply choosing another big, audacious goal is not infinite play, it's just another finite pursuit. During employee town hall meetings at GE, some of the employees would express concern that the company was too focused on the short term. Jack Welch, then CEO, was fond of replying, "Long-term is just a series of short terms." When employees express such a concern to a CEO, more likely than not what they are really asking is, "What's this all for? What is all our hard work contributing to beyond the metrics and material rewards?" Welch's answer revealed that, to him, there was no higher cause at play. The goal was simply to perform again and perform again. To Welch, each finite accomplishment was enough. Except, business is an infinite game, which means the series of short terms never ends. Indeed, leaping from goal to goal can be fun for a while, but if that's all there is, over time the thrill of each achievement becomes less, well, thrilling. I often meet senior executives who seem to suffer from a kind of finite exhaustion. Because they did well and were paid well for hitting each goal set for them, they kept repeating that pattern. At some point in their careers, they traded any fantasy of feeling like their work would contribute to something bigger than themselves for a rat race or a hamster wheel or some other unfulfilling running rodent metaphor. Racking up finite wins does not lead to something more infinite. The question that a just cause must answer is, what is the infinite and lasting vision that a moonshot will help advance? A just cause is the context for all our other goals, big and small, and all of our finite achievements must help to advance the just cause. Indeed, if we become overly concerned with a finite goal, no matter how inspiring, we leave ourselves open to making decisions that are only good for the finite but may do damage to the infinite. Kennedy's moonshot was made in the context of the larger, infinite vision that America's founding fathers laid out, that our progress is not for the benefit of a few, but for the benefit of many. In the sentences before Kennedy proposed his moonshot challenge, he offered the infinite context for the finite objective. "We set sail on this new sea because there is new knowledge to be gained, and new rights to be won, and they must be won and used for the progress of all people." This was his belief for a good many of his objectives, including landing a man on the moon and returning him home safely. Though moonshots are inspiring for a time, that inspiration comes with an expiration date. Moonshots are bold, inspiring finite goals within the infinite game, not instead of the infinite game. Being the best is not a just cause. We will be the global leader in every market we serve, and our products will be sought after for their compelling design, superior quality, and best value. This is a pretty typical sounding corporate vision or mission statement. This one belongs to Garmin, the maker of GPS devices for everyone from runners to pilots. Though there are dozens of variations, the basic formula is the same: we're the best. And everyone wants our products because our products are the best. And they're great value, gotta squeeze that in. Again, vision or mission statements act like compasses. They guide our direction. However, because there are no standards on how to write such statements, ones like the above have become too common. Broad and generic, they offer little to no value to a company that wants to adopt an infinite mindset. Being the best. And statements like that are egocentric statements that place the company as the primary subject, and thus the primary beneficiary of their vision. They don't help make the company relevant to those who buy from the company. In fact, any mention of the customer or any offer of value usually comes at the end of the statement. By putting the egocentric statement first, it directs leaders to focus their efforts inward and not on actual people who may buy the product. And just because people may buy or like the product does not mean they believe in or even know what the cause is. Leaders with a finite mindset often confuse having a successful product with having a strong company, which is a little like the owners of the Los Angeles Lakers thinking their team is relevant because LeBron James has relevance. Having a great player, a popular product, or a killer app does not mean we are equipped for the infinite game. Vision statements that place the product at the center of the vision are only useful so long as nothing better ever comes along. There is never a deviation in market conditions, and no new technology is ever invented. If, however, any of these things does happen, the company will be left with a vision statement that often leaves them clinging on to an old business model and blind to the opportunities they could have captured. This seems to be what happened to Garmin. In 2007, Garmin may have been the global leader in dash-mounted GPS units for cars and boats. However, as smartphones became more reliable and more capable, we had less need for a separate GPS unit anymore, and the company suffered as a result. It is now worth less than a third of what it was worth in 2007. It's too easy for Garmin to simply blame the rise and ubiquity of smartphones to explain their losses, which they did. What they failed to recognize is that they had a vision statement that directed them to focus on their product, and in so doing, they missed the opportunity that smartphones offered them. Had they been obsessing about how to provide the value to customers first, they may have seized the chance to develop the Go-To navigation app for mobile phones when the opportunity still existed. Their brand was certainly strong enough to do so. Instead, they continued to focus on the business model they had, selling dash-mounted hardware. Now, the default navigation apps on our phones are Google Maps, Waze, or Apple Maps, but that didn't have to be. A just cause should direct the business model, not the other way around. When a statement of vision or mission is grounded in the product, it can have adverse effects on the corporate culture also. For companies that place their product above all else, which is fairly common among technology or engineering companies, it leaves people who are not engineers or product designers feeling like, and sometimes actually treated like, second-class citizens in their own companies. An organization is better served if everyone, including those in accounting, support, or customer service roles, for example, is made to feel like they are not just there to serve the needs of the engineers or product development teams. They too want to feel like valuable members of the team, working together to advance something bigger than the product or themselves. Being the best simply cannot be a just cause, because even if we are the best, based on the metrics and time frames of our own choosing, the position is only temporary. The game doesn't end once we get there, it keeps going. And because the game keeps going, we often find ourselves playing defense to maintain our cherished ranking. Though saying we are the best may be great fodder for a rah-rah speech to rally a team, it makes for a weak foundation upon which to build an entire company. Infinite-minded leaders understand that best is not a permanent state. Instead, they strive to be better. Better suggests a journey of constant improvement, and makes us feel like we are being invited to contribute our talents and energies to make progress in that journey. Better, in the infinite game, is better than best. Growth is not a just cause. Imagine you walk out of your house one morning and see your neighbor packing up his car. Where are you going? You ask. Vacation, he replies. Nice. Where are you going? You follow up. Curious. I told you, vacation, he replies again. I got that, you say, but where are you going? Exasperated, your neighbor replies again. I told you, vacation. Realizing that your line of questioning will not reveal the answer you're looking for, you try a new strategy. Okay, you say, how do you plan to get to your vacation? And immediately your neighbor offers their plan. I'm going to drive down the I-90 and my goal is to drive 300 miles per day. If the question asked is, what is your company's cause? Why does your company exist? And the answer offered is growth, that's a lot like your neighboring responding vacation to the question, where are you going? The leaders of these growth-oriented companies can rattle off their strategies and targets for growth, but that's like explaining which highway and how many miles you plan to travel when heading on vacation. It doesn't paint a picture of why you set off in the first place or where you hope to go. It doesn't offer a larger context or purpose for that growth. Money is the fuel to advance a cause, it is not a cause itself. The reason to grow is so that we have more fuel to advance the cause. Just as we don't buy a car simply so we can buy more gas, so too must companies offer more value than their ability to make money. A company, like a car, is more valuable to all constituents when it takes A somewhere to which we would otherwise be unable to go. That place we envision going to is the just cause. It's worth noting that so many of the goals that companies put forward tend to be arbitrary or overly ambitious. Especially in the startup world, the drive for billion-dollar valuations is not an indicator of a healthy company that is built to last. It is a standard that has evolved thanks to the venture capital industry, because valuations are how they make their money. A strong culture and the ability to fund its own existence, also known as profitability, is how a company actually stays in the game for the long term. In addition, the constant drive for hypergrowth creates a problem within mature markets in which the product, technology, or business is no longer new or special but accepted and ubiquitous. For companies in those markets, companies like Sears or GE, their options are unattractive if they maintain a growth at all costs mentality. Many start to play defense, give their money away to shareholders to court their favor, or overuse stock buybacks to keep their stock price artificially inflated. Growth through acquisition or merger often becomes the only way mature, finite-minded companies can continue to demonstrate high rates of growth. This may win a short-term boost in the stock market, however, as Harvard Business Review and many others have reported, 70%, 90% of acquisitions are abysmal failures. To offer growth as a cause, growth for its own sake, is like eating just to get fat. It pushes executives to consider strategies that demonstrate growth with little to no consideration of any sense of purpose for that growth. Just like it would affect a human being, it should come as no surprise that the organizations that eat to get fat will eventually suffer from health problems. Growth as a cause often results in an unhealthy culture, one in which short-termism and selfishness reign supreme, while trust and cooperation suffer. Growth is a result, not a cause. It's an output, not a reason for being. When we have a just cause, we are willing to sacrifice our interests to advance it. When we think money or growth is the cause, we are more likely to sacrifice others or the cause itself to protect our interests. Besides, nothing can grow forever. All balloons and bubbles eventually burst. Even financial ones. Corporate social responsibility is not a just cause. The company advertised all the good they did in the community. They shared the stories of some of the people who benefited from the scholarships they funded, for example. They wanted their customers and their employees to know they cared about people. Which would have been great if the 60,000 people who actually worked for the company didn't have to work in such a top-heavy, dog-eat-dog toxic culture. A corporate social responsibility, CSR, program is not a just cause. And a company is not cause-driven because they sponsor walkathons, donate to charity, or give employees paid time off to volunteer. Nor are they cause-driven because they give away their products to people who can't afford them. CSR programs are, for the most part, business speak for giving to charity. And though having a CSR program is indeed great and commendable, unless you're a charity, it's only a piece of what a company does. The CSR program must be part of the broader strategy to advance the just cause. A strategy that includes everything the company does. The way a company makes its money, and the way it gives it away must both contribute to advancing the just cause. Cause-related work is not something an organization does on the side, it is core to their very being. Service is not an ornament. It is a touchstone. And no amount of corporate social responsibility is enough to offset or balance the excessive finite focus that may consume the rest of the corporate culture. Even well-intended finite-minded leaders often have the perspective of make money to do good. An infinite perspective on service, however, looks somewhat different. Do good making money, the order of the information matters. I will do good in how I treat people and serve my community throughout my life and still build a financially strong organization. It is not so much an equation as it is a lifestyle. These individuals and companies work to be stewards of the lives of those who work for them and for the communities in which they operate. The giving that happens during and at the end of their lives looks more like a continuation of what they've been doing for decades rather than an attempt at balancing the past. The difference is determined by the leader's mindset. End of chapter 3.